Hello everybody. The purpose of this video will be to look at the analysis tab and hopefully get an idea of using a combination of these tools to make really quick trade decisions. For this video, I'm going to be duplicating something I did this morning on NVIDIA, and we'll get into a little bit more detail. But the first thing I think everyone does and should do is look at the dark pool trend. So it's nice to have all of the historical data. Certainly, you can definitely identify trends this way. But right now, I'm thinking short term, so I'm going to highlight the most recent data. We have S&P 500, which hopefully you're familiar with, options risk, and the dark pool itself. Now, the dark pool volume is what's being recorded here. With options risk, we're recording gamma over the overall put and call market. So that's every contract that's being written right now. What is the overall gamma in response to movement of the S&P 500? So to get a better idea of what that means, let's turn off dark pool for now. Options risk rose right here, meaning if the S&P 500 goes up, contracts make a lot of money. Well, notice it did go up a little bit. And on the 18th, right when we got that data, you might have been able to conclude that it was going to go up in the S&P 500 simply because due to the gamma, people benefit tremendously if it goes up. Of course, this isn't always how it functions, but in such a sentimental and highly speculative market, I think we can all agree when people want something, they're getting it right now. So keep in mind things like the news cycle and other factors, but generally speaking, it's very easy to understand how money is moving in the market, sometimes 72 hours ahead of time as a result of this. And I'm thinking about Friday's data. When you get data on Friday, typically you have a huge advantage on Monday, or at least that's what we've seen every single time so far in the digits beta. Let's turn on dark pool again, and we see when money leaves the market from the hands of the very, very wealthy. We're talking billionaires, no millionaires. You don't even get a seat at the table unless you've got $10 billion. So we're talking very, very wealthy folks, right? Now, when they take money out of the market, what does that mean? Well, we see they don't like gamma risk. When options go up or down heavily in response to the S&P, we'll notice rich people like to get out. Now, when gamma has been consistent for a couple of days, dark pool investors like to get in because they feel safe. But they're always hedging risk, unlike retail investors. Now, at a time like this, of course it's Friday, everything is sort of collapsed here for Thursday night's data. Well, it'll be very exciting at 6 p.m. today to see what happened. So, because I saw that dark pool trend, and I realized that there was a lot of potential still for upward movement, I immediately began looking up companies that I thought, that I already know quite a bit about. And the first one was NVIDIA. I'm going to show you how I started. I always start with high sensitivity because it's the safest. Any trends you find using high sensitivity are guaranteed to be insider trading, essentially. But as you can see, the last guarantee of such a thing at such a high sensitivity was as far back as over a year and 6 months ago now. So let's turn up to 5 and see how that alters it. Even more so, more sensitive, more strict. I'll show you what I did to get the results that I wanted, and then I double checked them. 820. Well, shoot, that's just yesterday. Pretty good news. Now, we got a bearish signal here earlier in the previous month, and then 3 bullish signals all in a row. Now, what's interesting is this bearish signal was 415. It got really quiet for about 1 month, and then bullish signals popped up. Now, these prices are end of day prices. I want you to keep in mind when you're using this tool, what this means was overall movement throughout the day was positive. So you can trust this. But it's always good to double check, especially when you have such a tight range of dates like this, 17, 19, 20, all just basically in the past week. We've had bullish signals from NVIDIA. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you should have bought calls, puts, shares? Let's find out. It's going to be different every time. Let's look at some historical data. Now, something I'd like to say about this search bar and this module in general is that we actually provide 1-minute data. If you zoom in very closely and you have a powerful enough computer, You can get 5-minute, it looks like. Zoom in even further, and we get 1-minute data. Pretty crazy. Not something that Robinhood or many other online brokerages offer. Let's zoom back out and observe what we were looking at. We had the 17th, the 18th, 19th, and 20. Somewhere around there, right? We have all this downward movement, a couple price spikes, and really high volume on August 20, right when market opened. Pretty interesting, and yet not a huge sell-off. The volume did not really exacerbate throughout the day as a result of upward price movement or fear or anything. Almost as if people knew something that we didn't. Let's go to options calculator now. I'm pretty sure I selected greedy. And what I did is type in NVIDIA, search, and comb through these until I found some 28s that were green. Now, I could double check because I do have it open in the Robinhood tab, but I'm pretty sure I bought some of these. Going to Robinhood, we see, let's see, NVIDIA 630. It doesn't have the strike, but we do see it's 28. So, and this is already an earlier trade. Same day, you see 28, 425, and I sold these for about $180 profit. Jumped right back in after I saw that analysis. And it's been up since. So, I think the lesson here is that with just those 3 tools, options calculator, insider detection, dark pool trend, and perhaps looking at some historical data, it's very easy to look at each stock, each company, each contract very uniquely and save yourself from mistakes, challenge your assumptions, and probably learn something about a company that you didn't already know. That was a really quick way to show everything off, but there's more. So let's talk about those too. Stock Screener is a really cool tool. Now, sector and industry, I believe, have some bugs in beta, if I'm not mistaken, but we're working on it. So for right now, let's just select the greedy preset, keep dividends on, and search. Now, again, with all of our tables, we're able to filter, find companies with the desirable factors that we're interested in. And for me, typically, I like to start with market cap. You can even search. And let's see, I see Momo, right? You can search for a company in that screening profile. You can do anything you need to, and of course it's paginated, again, like all of our other tables, to keep all of this data in one place and easy to read. We have earnings calendar, which is just what it is. We have daily earnings reports. Performance matrix, where we have the bull movers and the bear movers for that day. We're trying to include more stocks. As we include more, we find that the movement becomes less interesting. You'll see a lot are moving below 2%, but do we want to know about those? It's hard to say. Perhaps more options is better, but obviously we see, 10 in each row, so that's pretty good for now, we think. Industry clusters is similar. It's more a way to validate the assumptions you might gather in performance matrix about which industries overall are doing well. I like to look at this daily because I typically remember what it looked like the day before, and then I'm able to see if losses are creeping or sweeping back and forth between industries. That to me is very interesting, and it's always a great way to see sort of throughout the week what's happening in a large scope. I believe that concludes all the analysis features. I'm going to take one more moment to show you guys the live COVID dashboard and some other charts and graphs that you might find useful. Pretty scary red bubbles, but the point of this is not to scare you necessarily. It's to gauge an impression of what the news has to say versus what the reality actually is. That can be hard these days. And when you have data, when you have a map like this, it's pretty undeniable what's actually happening. Furthermore, the fact that we allow you to graph it in some historical, real-time impressionist view. And as we know, March is when the market and the country began taking it seriously, isn't it? My only regret is that we weren't able to provide this to you guys earlier. but it's here now, and we hope it helps. Then we have overall portfolio accumulation in addition to this graph right here. And just as sort of a bonus feature, I'll go ahead and do this on camera. So it takes some processing time, which I do regret, but afterward, you have a screenshot that you can share with people privately or publicly, and it's 100% safe. You don't need to include any information you don't want to show about the rest of the dashboard, about your positions. It's just a nice, easy way to grab a screenshot without having to do extra work. Similarly, there's this one, which we don't have a screenshot button for, but if enough people ask for a way to share weekly gains, we're happy to show that off too. So as you can see, I actually hit a peak around 10 a.m., which is expected. That's when a lot of the movement occurs. And with more NVIDIA calls, I've been creeping my way back up to that amount as Facebook has dropped, one of my considerably large holdings. I have 100 shares. I've been writing calls successfully, as you can see here. I've made $123. This individual has lost $123 as a result of buying this call. I do feel bad, but that's the pleasure in writing covered calls. You don't worry about the risk. This allows me to offset any losses from my $27,000 position in Facebook. And I apologize for that alert. She does tell you when the market has opened every 3 hours in case you need a voice reminder. And again, you can disable this through the sound or UI alerts settings. So this concludes the video for the analysis tab and the overall analysis features that we provide. We're going to keep adding to them. We'll keep making new tutorial videos, but for now, we hope this gives you a big head start. Feel free to ask any questions about the way any of this works. We're 100% transparent and have no problem sharing anything as gritty as the math with you or as simple as what the buttons do. We have no problem helping people, so that's what we're here for. Thanks for watching.